Chapter 13, Introductory Activities. This is another change that I like about this new book. In the old book, the introductory activities were included in another chapter, so it was challenging for my students to find introductory activities when they were creating their lesson. Now in this new book, they have a chapter all by itself. It's a small one, but it's easy for you to locate and to get some ideas when you're creating your lesson. Because in Chapter 5, we talked about the 4 parts that you are going to teach in your lesson. And the first part is introductory activities. The first segment of where the students are actually doing something, you are going to teach them. They are going to do the introductory activity that you have chosen. So this whole chapter has ideas on what you could possibly use for your introductory activity for each lesson. So they start off with a discussion question. From your past experiences when you were in elementary school, what was your PE lesson like? Well, how did it start? How important is it for the first few minutes of the lesson? On page 266, they talk about how an introductory activity is the first movement that the students are going to experience when they enter the teaching area. So I want you to know that. What happens when they enter that teaching area? They have been sitting still. It's been mandatory that they sit in their desk. Now they get to move. This is the only time in the school day besides recess that they actually get to run, play, move, and so forth. As I talked about in Chapter 5 lecture, this introductory activity is only going to last 2 to 3 minutes. That's it, 2 to 3 minutes. So allowing them to run, jump, skip, hop, dribble a soccer ball, jump rope, do whatever. Immediate activity when they're entering the gym or the activity area might not be a bad idea. Let them run, get all that excessive energy out of them, and let them get tired. And then they'll calm down. So we want to help the students. I want you to know we want to help them warm up physiologically, meaning the muscles, get the blood warm running through their body. And we also want to use this introductory activity as a way to prepare them for whatever activities are to follow. So I want you to know we want to offer them some immediate activity when they enter the gym and to warm up physiology. And I talked about this in Chapter 5. You might have to practice some management skills instead of doing your introductory activity because the students aren't cooperating. And again, I want you to know about the rule of 3. You might have them run and freeze instead of doing your introductory activity if they're not cooperating, if they are not being manageable, if they're not doing what you ask them to do. And so you might have to forget about your introductory activity. Or the first day back from Thanksgiving, as I used that example in Chapter 5, you might just use the rule of 3 just to check them out and make sure they remember your requirements. Okay? So have them run, blow the whistle twice. Hopefully they freeze and they don't take forever to freeze and decide to do some more of the activity that they want to do. And you do that 3 times just to make sure y'all are all on the same page. So what signals can we use for change in order to get the students to cooperate? We could use the whistle or my squistle. We can use a voice command, but that might not work so well. You could use a drum beat. You could use a hand clap. But you have to have, I want you to know, you have to have some type of signal for change with the student and know these examples. Here listed are the activities that you could choose, depending on what grade level you're going to teach, as your introductory activity. Free running. Now, I don't know if I would ask fifth graders to do free running. Maybe pre-K or kindergarten, or running and changing direction, running and changing the type of locomotion. You have to consider what grade level you are teaching when you're looking at all these examples of introductory activities in this chapter. Running and stopping. Again, I don't think I would ask third, fourth, and fifth graders to do that, but maybe pre-K, kindergarten, first, and second graders. Tortoise and hare is cute for the young ones. Ponies in the stable. I want you to know, like high five. That's an example of what you possibly could do maybe for the older ones, and it's also an introductory activity. Run, stop, and pivot is definitely for the upper elementary, but this is also an introductory activity that could be used. Agility run, that's another example of an introductory activity. Moving on twos and fours, secret movement, airplanes. Airplanes for the younger ones, they give a good, cute little picture on page 267. And notice those are the younger ones. The older upper elementary might laugh at it. So you got to be careful with what you choose for introductory activities. And then you have combination movements. They call it countdown from 10 to 1 and then blast off and turn the page. You also have countdown, four corners movement. I include the four corners movement in my softball lesson plan, and you can change the movement on each corner. Or you can have the same movement on the long sides because you have a rectangle, or a different movement on the short side, and that definitely could be adjusted for the different developmental levels. So these are all kinds of activities. You just choose. That's going to be your biggest issue. There's so much material out there. What are you comfortable with? I'm letting you be in your comfort zone or choose activities that's in your comfort zone. They also give you some activities starting on page 269 that involve equipment. Let's say you're doing a rope jumping activity. So they give an idea for individual rope jumping for an introductory activity. Each child runs with the rope in hand, and on the signal to change, the child stops and begins to jump. See how simple it is? It's just movement. And you're teaching rope jumping this week, and so you might do that for your introductory activity. Or you might specify what you want them to jump, because yesterday you taught such and such and such and such, and so that's what you're going to have them do today for the intro activity. That would be very smart. Hoop activities, wand, milk carton, ball activities, beanbag, touch and go, long rope routine, and disappearing hoops. There are so many activities that you can do for your introductory activity. Some more introductory activities, but these require a partner or a small group. Okay, and they're listed here for you. Fastest tag in the West, hospital tag. Notice tag games. Tag games are very good choices for your introductory activity. You don't have to do that every day, but that's not a bad starting point to choose tag activities. Some more ideas is being creative. I don't know if I would do these though. Set out a variety of equipment. Remember, you only have 2 to 3 minutes for this particular part of your lesson. You're not going to let them do the introductory activity for 10, 15 minutes. No, no, no. They only have a short period of time. So that's why I'd be hesitant to put a variety of equipment. Maybe 1 or 2 different choices, maybe. But I don't know if I'd do all of those. Another option, set out manipulative items, and we know a manipulative item is any type of object that they can play with alone or with a partner or a small group. Okay, provide a range of apparatuses such as climbing ropes and such, mats, boxes, balance beams. This is an option. I'd be careful with it just because you only have 2 to 3 minutes for your introductory activities. On the last page of chapter 13, page 272, they list some games and miscellaneous activities as possible choices also that you might want to choose for your intro activity. And sometimes, like Barker's Hoopla, once you explained it on Monday, you would, if you want, you could continue to play Barker's Hoopla Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning. It would take a little while to teach it on Monday, but after that, you could just say Barker's Hoopla, pick your people, and then they could be playing. Okay. Notice some more tag games and even whistle mixer there. So this is a short chapter, but a very important chapter because this is where you're going to go in order to get some ideas of what you're going to do for your introductory activity. So what are some takeaways from chapter 13? You want the students moving and to prepare them for what's to follow. The introductory activity should be used as a way for the students to practice, and if they're not being very cooperative or if it's the first day back from the holidays, you might have to use some classroom management tasks like the rule of 3 to get them manageable. You could involve fundamental motor skills, make sure it's minimal instruction. That's so important to remember. You can have equipment in your intro activities, or they can do it individual, partners, or in small groups. Here's some reflection. If we were to meet in class where you could pick an activity and I would pair you up with a partner and y'all would talk and see how you would explain the activity to your class and practice it on your partner. And then you could also talk about how you'd set up the activity if it required equipment, which is what we're doing whenever we're teaching our activities. You have to practice this in order to teach your activities to the class. So as I said, this is a very short chapter, but a very important chapter. Chapter 13 is on the introductory activity, the first part of your 4 parts of the lesson you're going to teach. Chapter 14 is physical fitness. That's the second part of your lesson that you're going to teach.